Okay, folks, we've just stopped on our elephant tracking, and because we spotted this little roller here. It looks like it might be a purple roller. With him being a little bit wet like that, it is a little bit difficult to see, you know. We do also get the European roller, which starts to come in at this time of year. Oh, and there he goes. Of course he had to disappear. We'll drive down a little bit and see if we can catch up with him. I do think it might have been a purple roller, but I'm not absolutely sure. Now, something that is quite interesting about rollers is that their Afrikaans name, their local Afrikaans name, is called a tropant. Now, if we dissect that name, a tropant, the Afrikaans names are normally very descriptive of the bird itself. And there he is in front. I'm just going to see if he can settle, and we'll try and catch up on him again. Okay, I'm going to stop here and see if Seb can just pick up on him. He's on that branch just off to the left of the road. Can you see him, Seb?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to zoom in on him there. So, just a little bit to the right and down. That's it. Okay, there he is, and in we go. Okay, folks, a roller, the tropant, as I said, the Afrikaans name being very descriptive. Tropant meaning wedding band. Now, the Afrikaans people, the voortrekkers that moved up through southern Africa on their ox wagons back in the late 1800s. They obviously, you know, it wasn't as civilized as we are today, and they would actually, because of the beauty of this bird and the lovely colors that you get on their feathers, they actually used this bird's feathers as a mark of, you know, the ladies would use that as a mark of being married or engaged. So when you would propose to a lady in the Afrikaans community at that time, you would present her with a feather from the roller. And that's why it then moved on to having the name of tropant, or wedding band. And in all the old photos of the Afrikaans voortrekkers, if you look at the ladies and they've got a feather of the roller in their pocket, up over here in their pocket, it was a sign that she was either engaged or she was married. So that is something very, very nice to remember. And I took this tradition a little bit further, and when I got engaged, I offered that to my lady, keeping with tradition. So I'm not Afrikaans, but I am African, and it is part of our culture, and that's what I did. Okay, folks, so we're listening out for those elephants. We're going to continue along the way here, and I'm going to see if we can pick up on them. But I think Noel has got something to show you in the meantime.
Okay, we have a red-crested korhaan, a male red-crested korhaan. There's another male in the distance that's been calling on and off. And so this guy keeps listening, and I'm hoping if we stay with him for just a little while longer, he will call. He's not doing the full display where he starts clapping his beak and then he makes his call and then flies up into the air and then tucks his wings and then falls to the ground and opens them just in time. He's only doing about half the call because it is still a little bit chilly. And he was showing his crest a teeny bit earlier, just there on the back of his head. He's not doing it now. But I'm hoping he might. There we go. Let's listen. Keep listening. Can you hear his bill, his beak clapping like that? It's not doing it now. Just stand by one. There he goes. Listen, listen, listen. He's teasing us. But can you hear that bill clapping? He's teasing us a little bit. So, alright, just hold on, hold on. Here he goes. amazing. So again, not the full call, not where he does his full display, but very, very cool. You could hear that tap, tap, tapping, and then did you see when he opened his mouth, his tongue stuck out a little bit while he carried on. Ah, magic, magic, magic. Okay, see? Small things and big things. The big things we haven't found yet. Beautiful small things. We're still heading west, although Billy and I were discussing that west looks slightly darker than we are, so we're keeping it we're keeping an eye on it because we've let Vildy out of his cage. We've opened up some of the sides so that he doesn't have to feel so claustrophobic. He's free. Vildy is free. It's also better for the camera movements as well. Oh, Jackie, excellent question. Your difference between a red-crested korhaan and a black-bellied bustard. So I'm going to get my book out. It's been hiding away from the rain because I think in my decade of guiding I've probably gone through about 10 bird books just from getting wet. So let me get out the book so long. One very good big thing is that a black-bellied bustard is much bigger than a red-crested korhaan. So here on the top we've got a black-bellied bustard, and just here we've got a red-crested korhaan. So these are both the males. So what you can already see is the coloration on the bodies is very different. Where the black sits and comes up all around from the belly up through the neck with the black-bellied bustard, and then the black eye stripe, very different. With the red-crested korhaan, the black comes up sort of chest level with the male, and then it shows this sort of gray-blue color, but I always see it more as a buff gray. Look, these are illustrations. Also, the red-crested korhaan will crest. You can just see a little illustration of the crest here, whereas the black-bellied bustard won't do anything of the sort. All right, and then it's sort of size-wise, the black-bellied bustard is about 10 centimeters taller than a korhaan. So a korhaan's going to be about this, and a black-bellied bustard's going to be about this. So a foot and a bit and 2 foot, roughly. And then the calls are very different. So that red-crested korhaan did the clap, clap, clapping, and then the call you heard, and then he'll carry on and do it and then fly up. A black-bellied bustard does this popping noise, and I can't repeat it properly, but it's something that makes me giggle every time I hear it. So if we find one, I'll definitely show you and be able to give you a better idea of that. Okay, Kirst, I'm sorry. For some reason, my ear today is not listening very well, so I did hear you talking to me, but I didn't hear what you said. Ah. Oh, Brent has Cheetah for us, so let's head on over to him and have a look at his big cats for the day.
Well, they're starting to wake up and get quite playful at the moment. Look at that. Now, often these little games can turn quite, well, not very serious, but reasonably serious while the coalition is still sorting out their dominance. Now, I was chatting to Jamie last night. Says she thinks they're not going to split. I'm not so sure myself just yet whether they are going to stay together or not. I think we need to give them a little bit more time. I hope Jamie's right and that they don't split. And it seems like we have been discovered by the other vehicles. That's okay. People are here to enjoy these incredible animals. Oh, here we go. Here we go, sorting out the dominance. It's a little bit of playing, it's a little bit serious, mostly playing, but this is all very good signs that they are now waking up. Hello, boys. Is it nearly time to go catch something? I think so. So you can see how they've split up a little bit from that original big puddle they were in, a big puddle of cheetah. Wow, I think I meant to say huddle there, but I don't know where puddle came from. But There we go. It looks like they are definitely waking up and are still very, very hungry. Very hungry, which is good for us. Nice overcast, cool weather. Virginia says, so many dots. Indeed, Virginia. Lots of spotty, dotty cheetahs this morning. I was trying to remember, on average, can you believe someone actually counted on average how many spots a cheetah has? And I've just gone blank on it. I'll remember just now. But I think there is an average number of spots. Of course, none of them have the exact same amount of spots, but as I say, someone has gone and worked out on, obviously not all the cheetah in the world, but a certain percentage of cheetah, about how many spots on average a cheetah has. Romit says, Darty, as in D'Artagnan, seems to be the best choice for a leader. Well, he seems to be more dominant over the others at the moment. He might be a little bit older. You never know. That's the thing. So it's always interesting to watch, because there's never been a coalition of this size before. And as a normal rule, and this is what happens when you put rules into the bush, you will get yourself sorted out. That normally the coalition members are all related. Okay, we're just going to turn around. They're heading in that direction. What's that side? We got some topi, we got some zebra. And I think they're still waking up. I think they're going to go probably St. Mark Gardenia. And look at that, just like that. So I'm going to jump ahead of them, the gardenia tree. That's a quite nice thing about boys, like marking their territory, so you almost know where they're going to go before they do. So I'm almost certain so there they come. As I said, there are other vehicles here enjoying the sighting with us. A little bit of high ground. Cheetah love a good termite mound to have a squiz from. Now, out of all the big cats, cheetah have the highest success rate when it comes to hunting. Now, as I said, they do have a higher success rate. However, in most areas, they lose about 50% of the kills they make to other predators, specifically lion and hyena, occasionally leopard. Now, one's wondering, do cheetahs smell as bad as lions? They don't, fortunately for us. And the reason they don't smell as bad as lions is because they don't eat as much rotting meat. So generally, they will normally eat mostly fresh meat that they've killed, and they'll eat it quickly. Whereas lions are happy to eat a rotting carcass for days upon days upon days. Oh, excuse me. Hello, boys. Well, it seems like only one wants to spray his urine all over the gardenia tree. I'm sure the others will follow suit. Now, as we spend more and more time with the coalition, it's going to be interesting to see if we can really figure out the other members of the coalition. It's quite easy to see D'Artagnan with his collar. Here we go. Off to the gardenia we go. They do love a good gardenia for a scent mark. Scarlett is asking, if cheetah have poor night vision, how do they hunt at night? It's not that their night vision is poor, Scarlett. It's that the fact that hyenas and lions are far more active at night. So they tend to try avoid confrontation with the bigger cats and hyenas, because they are so finely developed for speed that they have foregone most strength, so they're not able to fight off lions or a group of hyenas. So while those animals are more active, the cheetah tend to prefer to have a snooze, and they'll try hunt during the day, where or in the early morning and late afternoon, where the lion, leopard, and hyena are slightly less active. We've got two having a drink out of the puddle in front of us. Can actually hear them lapping it up. Gregory says, I love the way their shoulder blades roll when walking. It is quite incredible to watch, Gregory. Now, for those of you who are wondering, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, and we're with the coalition of 5 male cheetah. There's D'Artagnan, the only named one out of the 5 who has got a collar on, that the scientists are keeping a track on this coalition, because it is the first recorded coalition of 5 males. There you go. So when you see big cats and cheetah included, when they scrape like that and urinate at the same time, the reason they do that is they're turning over the soil, so there's a fresh bit of soil there, and the scent they're spraying or laying on the ground will last a little bit longer. He's smelling on top of one of the other cheetah scent marks, and he might scent mark on top of it. Yes. Now, for the boys, it's been quite a lazy morning, because I think they hadn't moved since they bedded down last night to when we found them this morning. And they're all huddled up in a nice big ball. And it looks like they're having a slow start to their Thursday morning. I think it's Thursday. I'm not sure, actually. It could be Friday or Wednesday. There we go. It is Thursday. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I did not realize. And you can see there are some wildebeest around. Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry, a bit late on that one today. I was looking for cheetah. You got to forgive me for looking for cheetah. But oh, it's early. I think it's tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving here in Africa, but not yet in America. So we're just going to sit here and wait to see where they go next. Where to, boys? Where to? From this particular area, they only normally head east or west. I haven't been doing much north and south recently, but there is a lot of food in this area. Lady Starfire is wondering, are cheetah or any of the big cats particular about which tree or shrub that they'll scent mark on? Yes and no. I don't think they care about the tree. It's about the prominence of the tree or bush. So this gardenia here and a lot of the balanites that they scent mark are the only prominent tree or bush throughout this area. So that's why they choose it. And it's likely that any other cheetah, female or male, coming into this area would be attracted to these trees as they're the only shade out here. So that is the reason for it. Now, lions are a little bit less fussy, but again, they still tend to scent mark along roads and prominent game paths where other lions are likely to walk. Okay, let's just move on it. So it looks like they're going west this morning. No cars behind us. Now see, in these vehicles, you'll notice we don't have rear view mirrors. So cameraman second as our rear view mirrors. So as I said, it's generally quite easy to decide where the boys are going to go in an area like this. So we've got one single prominent gardenia up on the hill there. Here we go. And then we've got a few more lower down. So they're either going to go to that gardenia or to that gardenia, or those gardenias first, then the next gardenia. Oof, but we're going to flop down for a little rest while everyone catches up. Roly-poly kitty. And there we go. You can see the wildebeest and zebra in the background, but they don't seem too interested in those just yet. Oh, I didn't even notice there's more animals to the front of them. Okay, well, we're going to play the patience game, and we've got to just go through a low area here. So while we scoot ahead, let's go across to Rolf, who has finally found what he's been looking for.
Okay, folks, so that anticipation built, and we were following on those fresh tracks, the fresh dung, and look what we managed to find. A nice big bull elephant. We've taken a little bit of time just for letting him relax. When we first came around the corner, we both surprised each other. He was having a nice little bath, and but we backed up. We let him relax, and now look how much he's relaxed. He is absolutely calm with our presence. We respected him, and now he's saying, well, if you guys want to join me. He's having a bath, he's having a lie down, he's having a scratch. Wow. So folks, we are quite close to him. We are quite close to him, and I'm sure you can hear him. I don't want to talk too loudly. I don't want to change his behavior. Okay? He's really enjoying this. And I'm just going to be a little bit quiet now, because he is looking at us. I don't want to disturb him at all. Okay, folks, this is just a bull elephant. So, and he is a lovely size. Look at the size of those tusks. At the moment, we are not a threat to him. He's not showing us any kind of bad behavior. He's not being aggressive towards us. He's allowing us to be in his space. He's comfortable with us. So, but if he shows me any kind of sign that he's not comfortable with us here anymore, I'm going to move out immediately, because I don't want to change his behavior, and I want to let him carry on with his bath, because that's what he was doing before we arrived. Look at that wrinkles on the skin. He's been spraying mud behind his ears and over his back, And Sebastian was saying that's the last thing we feel like on a rainy day like this. But listen to that, spraying under his belly. Rosilla, question or comment from Rosilla. Interesting how such a big animal like that can roll around on the ground. It is absolutely amazing. But you know, elephants they can hold about 7 liters of water or mud inside their trunk. So he's using that to suck up and throw it behind his ears and under his belly. But the best way is just to get down and dirty, get right into it. They won't be able to lie on the ground for too long because it does become a little bit difficult for them to breathe. So, you know, like whales, elephants, even rhino, they don't generally lie down for too long. You know, in some places I've seen elephants do it for around an hour. They will spend a small amount of time, up to about that, you know, but they like to, especially if it is on a little bit of an incline, because the problem comes with their heavy bones. It makes it difficult for breathing. So the way he was lying there, it wasn't making it too difficult for him to breathe. So you see how every now and then he just stops to think. He is very comfortable with our presence, and we're quite happy to sit with him for a little while longer. As I say, I think he might be still content in playing with the mud, flapping the ears. Christy, question coming from Christy: has an elephant ever charged my vehicle? Well, Christy, unfortunately, I have had a number of elephants charge me. They have all resulted in us both leaving the situation intact. But, you know, when you're driving around in the bush like this... oh, and hello. Sorry, we've got another elephant coming up the road. This is starting to turn into a little bit of a better encounter. Okay. We're going to see some interaction here, folks. We are off the road, so we are allowing space for these elephants to move through. We are no threat to them. But at this very moment now, Christy, I have been charged before, and sometimes it's just the elephants sort of letting me know that I need to stay in my place, or I need to move out, that they can have their little their behavior can continue. Now at this moment, this other elephant has arrived, and sometimes they just want to back you up. I don't like to press elephants at all. I never have, I never will. This is their place, and I will maintain that. But at this very moment in time, with these 2 elephants in the position that they are in, I'm not going to move anywhere. Okay? What we want to do now is we want to act like another elephant. Alright? So if one of these elephants had to come towards us, we will just do like another elephant and stand our ground. We have left the escape routes, and the easiest route, or the easiest way for them to go, would be along the road. However, they can show us a little bit of aggression just to sort of put us on the back foot and make us maintain our position. Now, this female, she's wobbling her leg a little bit. That does mean she's a little bit pensive. In fact, sorry, it's a younger male. Sorry for that misidentification. It was just a very quick point of view that I had as he came round the corner. So that's quite interesting. He will possibly also want to have a little bit of a greeting with this big male. Okay, that's a small sign of aggression, but the young males, as they do that, he's a little bit probably unsure of himself, and he just tried to assert protect himself as well. But that's towards us, not towards the big bull elephant in the water hole. Okay, he might even just push some bushes around. He's coming for a little bit of a scratch. Matt, would an elephant give a warning prior to a charge? They absolutely can give you warnings. Generally, when they do give you warnings, that is going to be a warning charge as well. You know, we have moved away from the times now when we say mock charges, because there's no such thing as a mock charge. There is something called a warning charge. So he's warning us to back off or to stay where we are, or you're in the wrong position, mate. So that's what they're trying to communicate with us. They're using body language, and the warnings that they can give to us. So one in very much particular is raising and swaying of one of the front legs. Okay, these elephants might come towards us, but sometimes, you know, these animals are extremely intelligent. They can also be coming forward to investigate. That's why it's not such a bad thing to be talking to them. I don't talk to the elephant as if he is another human. I like to talk, especially if I've got guests on the vehicle. I just like to talk, just to give them an impression of my tone of voice. That's, you know, that we don't mean any harm. That we're just here. We're just in the bush. We're part of their environment. See that? That can also be a little bit of a warning. But as I said once again, this is a younger male. He's probably just trying to show what he's worth. But it's very normal for them to be doing that. If Seb can cross over to the big bull, he's got his penis out, and that's also a sign just to the younger bull that he's a dominant bull here. They're just doing a bit of a show off with each other. Now, with that big bull doing that show, okay, big boy, all right, okie dokes. Just a little bit of a tap here, folks, just to let him know that we're also not comfortable with him being in our space. We don't want this to get into any further. As I've said, we're just now acting like elephants, hey? All right, big boy, we don't mean any harm. You've got all the place to move. We don't mean harm, my bro. Okay. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you, sir. Now, as I was saying, with the big bull being over there, he's obviously dominant over this youngster, so he almost wants to be trying to take it out on us. Now, unfortunately, Sebastian's got that the rain cover on that side, so we might move back over to the bigger bull, who is very calm in his disposition. He's obviously very happy in his mind. He's an older bull, well experienced, and this youngster, he's just trying to push his weight around a little bit. I have been with and around elephants for many years, folks, so this isn't the first time I'm experiencing something like this. It's all part of the dynamics. Who is louder, elephants or lions? Sorry, Becca, I've got this little youngster here who's just being a little bit naughty. He's coming closer to us, and I'm just concentrating on him a little bit. So I'll answer your question in a second. I just want to make sure that he's not going to be naughty. He's feeding right next to us. I know that you're on the bigger bull. This younger bull is just off to our left, and unfortunately, with the rain cover, we can't turn to him. I just want to keep my attention on him because I don't want him to be too naughty. I just need to put him in his place a little bit, as a big elephant bull would do as well. So as I've said, we are now just acting like elephants. Okay, we're one of them. We respect them, but they must also respect our space. Everybody respecting each other, that's the rules of the bush. if we had to, for instance now, folks, start the vehicle up, start to reverse, start to get out of the sighting, that can actually create more anxiety. It can actually create a charge. So we're right inside their space, and the big bull allowed us to enter into his space, and I would actually say that he's in charge right now, and we're going to respect that. This little youngster, I think we're going to also just let him know that we're part of this hierarchy, and we're not going to let him push us around. He's not so well in his head because he's a youngster. He's still learning the ropes, still trying to push his luck, see how he can get up the hierarchy, while we're going to maintain our position in that. Look at this big bull. I think he's going to lie down and roll in the mud again. Okay, this youngster is just moving around us, but okay, big boy. Okay. See, just a little bit of a tap sometimes can also just turn him. Just that's it. You see now, and a little bit of a tap. He backed off a little bit, and now he's gone and stood behind a bush. And very often they'll go and stand behind a bush, and then they'll do their little show from there. But so he seems to have now accepted that we're part of the hierarchy, and we're either top elephant here, or we're behind this big bull that you are busy watching now. See that? He's got a very heavy trunk. He's laying it on top of his tusk. As I said, folks, all we're doing in this situation is being absolutely no threat to anybody. We're just here in their environment, as we should be. But they also know that this big green smelly animal doesn't mean any harm. We just want to maintain the hierarchy and maintain respect. We can enjoy these sightings if we maintain the rules. We need to remember and understand elephant behavior, how they work. This bull here, he had absolutely no problem with our presence when we arrived, but when the youngster arrived, he also just needs to assert his dominance over him. Because the youngster also, threw his head around a little bit, showed a little bit of aggression, the big bull needs to just show him who's boss. And that was by merely dropping the penis out. As simple as that. It's quite primitive, but it's natural. Okay, folks, we're going to sit here because we can't go anywhere. As I've said, we need to sit here until we are allowed to leave by these two bulls. We've got one on either side. In the meantime, I think Brent has got some cheetah to show you.
Welcome back, everyone. And we're still sitting with the cheetahs, who decided to take a little break because there was a hyena following them, but I think he's disappeared now. And they decided it was far better to just wait out the hyena, play the patience game with the hyena. The hyena's moved off, and they're just having a little snooze in the middle of the open area at the moment. Now, as I said, you can see there's quite a lot of animals around. Up on the ridge, there's some wildebeest, and quite a few wildebeest up ahead. I haven't seen any sub-adults yet, which is their sort of preferred size of wildebeest. What you got there, Manu? Is that the hyena? The hyena has also playing the patience game back. That's why they stopped hunting so far, just waiting for the hyena to go away. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to win the patience game, the cheetah or the hyena. as I said, they don't look like they are hungry, but they're not in a particular rush to lose their hard-earned food, which would happen if they decided to make a go at it with the hyena close by. Atomic X is wondering, why do cheetah cubs have that very pronounced sort of fur on their back? Well, there's two sort of trains of thoughts. One, I'm not so sure of myself, but one I definitely think is a very valid reason. It helps them camouflage themselves in long grass, and it keeps the little cheetah cubs very well hidden. The other theory, and I'm not so certain on this one, and as I said, it is just a theory, is it gives them the impression of being a honey badger. So they tend to look, well, that honey badgers have that white silver along their back, so the little cheetah cubs are said to look a little bit like honey badgers, just try stop other predators going for them. Personally, I don't buy that. I think it's so they can blend in with the long grasses when mom leaves them to head out hunting. While we continue to play the patience game like the hyena and the cheetah, Rolf's got an elephant who's having the best time rolling about in the mud.
Folks, we just wanted to cut back just to show you he was rolling around again. Hopefully he's going to do it again, but that's why we wanted to get you back here, because this big bull, he's really doing a show for us. Unfortunately, as Murphy always states, as you cut back, he changes back to his original behavior. But I do have a feeling that he might go down again. He's sort of half rolled, and I think he might be going down. He's really enjoying this bath. The youngster, he's moved off a bit, and he's accepted that we're the top dogs here, or the top elephants. And this bull, he's been throwing the mud under his belly, throwing it behind his ears. It's really been a fantastic encounter. It's been absolutely amazing. I can't tell you, every time I'm with elephants, it just makes you realize why we love to be in the bush. They're so intelligent, and they're almost human-like in the ways that they do in a different body. Having a look at that eye, elephants, they do have a very similar capability of eyesight as than humans. So what the distance, what we can see, and it's pretty similar to that of elephants. So I think he's a little bit irritated with that branch being in the way of his bath. He's just getting that out the way. He might even feed on it. He might chew off the bark, roll it around in his mouth. But wow, this has been absolutely fantastic. I know that there were people looking for elephant this morning, hoping that we would find some. Well, I hope this has lived up to your expectation, or your what you were looking for this morning. And once again, I gave thanksgiving to the rain that we had. But wow, what more could I give thanks for than this fantastic encounter here? Look at the strength of that trunk. He literally just dropped it, and it smashed that branch. This is a bull in his prime. I'm guessing around late 30s, early 40s. He's probably about 4.5 tons minimum, and that in pounds. If we half that, double that, he's at about 8,000 pounds. So if you can just think how heavy that is. This elephant is very heavy. He's also very powerful. In that trunk, he's got a lot of muscles, thousands of muscles in that trunk. But it does get very heavy, and that's why he does keep on resting it on that tusk. Question from Scarlett: do elephants use mud to protect their skin from the sun? Well, Scarlet, with the coloration of their skin and with the thickness of it, I don't think they get too worried about, the effects that we get per se from the sun, like getting burnt. But on the side of the heat, yes, definitely, it's like a thermoregulatory cream that they're putting on. It does help to cool them down, especially when it's wet, throwing it behind the ears. But more so, they do use that mud to assist with parasites. This elephant just coming towards us a little bit. As I said, he was very comfortable with our presence, but sometimes when there's another bull around, they can just try to press themselves on you a little bit. So we just want to be a little bit quiet and not show any aggression whatsoever. Both these animals have got their escape routes. They've got their right of way. We've given them the right of way. We're not making any threat towards them. We're merely being part of their morning schedule. And bull elephants are the nicest of all the elephants to be watching, because they, if they're not in must, which this elephant doesn't seem to be, that heightened. Okay, he's just given us a little bit of a reaction here, folks. He's just showing us a slight form of aggression, putting his ears out, making himself bigger, but it's not an extreme form of aggression towards us. Once again, he's just making sure that we're in our place. Okay, but we don't mean any harm. We're going to stand our ground. If we had to start up now, we would be pressing buttons that we don't want to. We literally are just joining him in this natural environment. That is all. Okay, sometimes silence is the best policy when you are near to elephants like this. So I am going to be a little bit quiet now, folks, and let's just watch him. Okay, I don't want to continue talking just for the sake of it. Alright, let's watch him a little bit, and I'm going to be quiet just so that he can calm down and do what he wanted to do. Okay, and as suspected, he has continued on his way. We were no threat to him. He's carried on. Okay, folks, that was absolutely fantastic. Alright, I'm shaking from excitement. That was awesome. Alright, I think we're going to cross over to Noelle. She's at the hyena den.
Uber cuteness. We know how much you all love the uber cuteness. So this is one of the 3 younger ones. And then we have, just to the left and in front, the older one that's by itself is busy nursing on its mum and having a little bit of what looks like a snooze as well as a nurse at the same time. You can just see it suckling there, its little mouth moving. I can imagine what it feels like to try and nurse something that has sharp little teeth like that. So let's rewind to the beginning with hyenas. These are spotted hyenas. Oh look, sorry. I love hyenas. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and I think they're super, super cute, as you heard me say earlier. So these are spotted hyenas. The other type of species in South Africa that we get would be a brown hyena. I believe up towards the Mara side you start seeing striped hyena. I've never seen a striped hyena. It is on my bucket list of things to see. So the social system for hyenas is a matriarchal system, meaning a female in charge, and it's just pretty much females in general. The males are sort of booted away and go off on their own. And it's interesting now that I'm saying that, and I'm starting to precursor into the fact that the males aren't even allowed around the den. I've actually never seen mating hyenas, and I cannot right now for the life of me think of any scenario where I've heard another guide friend of mine having seen mating hyenas. It's just an interesting thought. I think it's something we will all have to check up on today. I'll definitely do so when I am home in my warm room later this morning. Now, this little hyena, we had some talk the last time that we were here about the 2 young hyenas, one you're seeing on the screen here. Popped in the other day. I only saw this one. I haven't seen the second one. There was worry about sort of their condition and what's happening with them. My suspicion, my sneaky suspicion, is the one that we were talking about the other day, is that this female has probably been picking on her brother, and that caused a lot of stress with his with the way that his body was functioning, and so I have a feeling that he's no longer around, but I'm not confirming that now. I'm just saying it's just because I haven't seen the 2 of them together since then. Now, this chap, on the other hand, is doing very well and is surviving a little bit better. I'm derelict to say that the 2 younger ones are not going to thrive. I do think the female will do well. I have seen hyenas bounce back as well, so if we do see that male cub, I don't think that there's a non-possibility that he'll bounce back. I just think that it's going to be a little bit harder for him. So it's just something we're going to have to keep monitoring and keep our eye on and see what happens. Now, as you know, this one that's nursing is much older than the other one we were seeing at the mouth of the den site. Roughly, as far as I know, about 3 months older. So roughly about 6 months-ish, maybe a little bit less. 2 or 3, sometimes a couple more, but it's usually about 2 or 3. So with this one being the only one that we're seeing around, it's most likely the only survivor from its litter as well. And it's not an abnormal thing amongst hyenas. It's not an abnormal thing amongst many predators. Predators tend to have a few extra little ones just because it's hard to the survival rate is low amongst the litter with predators. Shame this one is cold and tired and snuggled up there at the mouth. That inside of where that one is, that's going to be a little bit warmer than out here. Milty, you're wondering, are hyenas nocturnal? So basically, yes and no. Predators move when it's cooler and are active when it's cooler. I've seen hyena active all through the night, and I've also seen them active during the day. There's a big warthog coming through the back. I don't know if you see there, Vildy. We might just catch a glimpse. There he runs. Now he's stopping. Nope, it's too much for him. I've seen hyenas trying to share a den with warthogs before, and eventually just chasing the warthogs off. The warthogs also enjoy the same sort of holes inside the den as these hyenas do, and the warthogs will live in there through the night. So, look, predators move when it's cooler. So if it's, especially like winter time, if it's cooler, they'll move throughout the day as well as at night. But they're not strictly nocturnal hyenas, and neither are leopard nor lion. Oh, that's beautiful. They are just opportunistic and quite good at figuring out when the best times to be out and about to obtain food and to mark territory are. And so because it is very hot in South Africa, or in sub-Saharan Africa in general, that's when the tendency tends to be moving more when it is dark, and thus the expectation that they are purely nocturnal, even though they are not. It's an interesting one. It's something that I like to remind people about, and remind myself, or remind any students that I train, or just sort of anyone that's interested about the bush, is that the animals don't read the books, and we as humans do the best we can to annotate and box up so that it's easier to understand. But basically all of those sort of assumptions you must take with a big grain of salt and then work off of it. And it's easier for me because I'm out here every single day, and so experience plays into it quite a lot. But yeah, for instance, we were talking the other day about leopards being solitary, and I've seen 3 leopards together, I've seen 5 leopards together. They don't have a pride system like lions by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, there's a larger gray area around predatory behavior and for something like hyenas. They're, I wouldn't say misunderstood, but I think a lot of the research and experience that's gone into it hasn't necessarily permeated into the greater culture surrounding the ideas and thoughts behind them. Thanks for the question, Ralph. There's a fork-tailed drongo that was calling in the background. I'm sure you all could hear it. He was mimicking something. It sounded a little bit robotic, and I can't pinpoint exactly which bird he was mimicking, but there's definitely a mimic going on there. All right, very, very round ears to help cup the sound. Earlier in the show, Jamie was saying how she can mimic the hyena calls, and I was saying how I'm very poor at mimicking hyena calls. But when they do make the call, they place their mouth close to the ground to help magnify the sound off the ground, and those cup-shaped ears help then collect the sound and help funnel it back in. They are very good listeners. They have extremely good hearing as well as good eyesight, and then their sense of smell is very good as well. I've mentioned before, but I'll mention it again for all of our new viewers out there. A very dear friend of mine once told me that he had learned that hyenas can smell blood up to about 9 kilometers, which has never left my brain. I've always remembered this little thought, this little piece of information. I haven't found it written down anywhere, but I trust his judgment quite a bit. And so that thought always intrigues me, is when, let's say, another predator or another clan of hyenas even makes a kill, and there's a hyena within that distance and they can smell that dead animal, they'll then put up a sort of come to me call for the rest of the hyenas that are out scavenging around. So although spotted hyenas live in clans, they don't always move in clans. They will often go out investigating on their own, and then once they've either found something to scavenge off of or possibly found a good hunting area, they will collect the rest and then move in that way. Walter, you're wondering how big they get in comparison to dogs. So this big female that is nursing this young here is about 65 kilograms, so that's about 140 pounds. If I'm doing my math properly, which I never do, so something like that. The way that they stand height-wise, I had a Dalmatian Black Lab mix when I was a kid that was thin but quite tall, so I would put it about there. Sort of like a big Labrador. Let's go with that for now, until I can come up with a better answer for you. Great questions, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the cuteness, and we will head back over to Ralph and see what he's up to.
Okay, folks, we're just backing up here a little bit because we found something very interesting once again. But I just want this female just to calm down. I'm just stopping here just to get that nice view. Now, what we have just come across is a mother impala that has literally just given birth. The baby has not even been able. If you can see his little head there. Okay, the umbilical cord is still hanging from the mother. This baby has literally just been born now. He's still trying, he's still very wobbly. The mother is probably going to start eating the afterbirth, trying to lick the baby and then trying to get the baby to stand up. She is quite nervous. See there, the umbilical cord? So I did back up a little bit. We got a little bit of a surprise when we saw her, so we want her to calm down. We're not very close. We're obviously using the zoom here to go in nice and close, and but she will obviously be very alert because they're both quite vulnerable at this very moment. So she is obviously very alert towards predators because there is some blood around. They will be able to smell that. And she will just keep on looking around, keep on taking a few steps away, but she'll keep coming back to that baby, trying to lick it and trying to get it to stand up. The baby's wobbling his ears there, and looks like a healthy little baby. Wow. Another thing to give thanks for, hey? Wow, we've had 3 things this morning. The lovely rain, that lovely elephant encounter, and now we've got this little baby that's been born here. For me, this is one of the best game drives I've had on Djuma so far, and we can only go up from here, eh? Well, it can only be worse because that was absolutely fantastic morning. Okay, so the mother is now starting to return. She's giving a little bit of a call. You must remember now also that this is the time when the mother and the baby are imprinting on each other. They're imprinting. She will spend quite a little period of time away from the herd so that they can both imprint on each other. And in such a way, that is the way that they identify each other, spending that isolation a little bit away from the herd. Still very nervous. She keeps on looking away. She keeps watching us, but she's more so worried about the other side, worried about the predators. Okay, she's obviously a very heightened sense of security at the moment. Very worried for the baby. So once again, it's one of those times like with the elephant. We want to respect her, and we want to just be a little bit quiet. Okay folks, welcome to all the other people that have just joined us. We've just got a little baby impala here that has just been born literally in the last few minutes. The mother has still got the umbilical cord hanging, and the baby hasn't been able to stand as yet. He's still trying to get his feet. He's obviously still very wet. It's one of those perfect mornings for him to have been born. Firstly, with it being Thanksgiving, and secondly, that it's nice and cool. It's been raining a little bit, and it's absolutely ideal for this mother to give birth on this particular morning because of that. It's not too hot, and the conditions are ideal. She keeps coming back to the baby just to lick it. So she's obviously very concerned about any predators that might have smelt the blood, because there will be a little bit of blood around. So what she will do is then she will start to feed on that afterbirth and try and get rid of that smell. So you can see there the umbilical cord hanging from the back end of the female. That is obviously a very big indication that this baby has just been born, but obviously it is. Once we get to see the baby actually stick his head above the grass, you can see it's very wet, very dark color. There you can see him keep wobbling. The tail is now starting to move, and this baby is new. One of those new little creatures to have joined us. The impala are all dropping now at this particular time. They have coincide their dropping of the young, so that they have a better chance of surviving predator activity. So, but what a fantastic little encounter we have here. You know, once again, it's not all about the big stuff. Very often about the small guys as well, hey? And impala make up a big part of what is alive in the bushveld. Folks, I think I'm going to back out a little bit here. She is a little bit nervous, and I don't want to disturb her anymore. If she leaves that baby, we're obviously then going to be leaving it on its own. So we're going to back up and give her space. Okay, I think that's the best bet. She's a little bit too nervous for my liking, and I want her to go back to that baby. Okay. folks, we're backing up here, and that's all about the respect for the bush. We don't want to change things because of our presence. As I was saying with the elephants, we just want to be part of the bush, but we don't want to change it in any way whatsoever. So I think we were a little bit in her space, so we're backing out. Okay, while I was talking there, I think I heard that might possibly be somebody else that's got something to show you. We're going to continue reversing out of here. Okay, that's all right. We're going to continue up the road here. I'm just struggling to find my direction, looking behind with our rain cover on. So I'm just sticking my head around the side here so that we don't crash into a big tree. We've now moved away from that female so I can talk a little bit louder, and let's hope that that baby makes its way to adulthood. Right, folks, goodbye to the Facebook viewers, and we're going to be carrying on our drive. Okay, right, folks, we're just backing up here a little bit more, finding ourselves a spot that we can turn around. It's all been action this morning. It's been absolutely fantastic. Okay, while I reverse up the road here and find a place to turn around, I think Jamie's got some cheetah for you in the Mara.
How incredible is that? What an amazing sighting for Ralph within his first few days. I'm so happy for him, and I hope there are many more births to come. It's always a special thing. Right, well, on to the subject of mothers and their offspring. We've been lucky finally, so I haven't found Imani, the female cheetah that I was searching for, but I have found 3 cheetah. Malika and her 2 young boys. That's one of the young boys over there. You can see the scruffy fluff of hair running along the back of his neck. A sign of immaturity still. So you've been talking about the cheetah cubs fluff, and how they look a little bit like honey badgers. Well, these boys are almost at the point where it's no longer visible, but you can just see touches of it on the backs of their necks. So exciting stuff. We've managed to catch up with Malika, and I'm thrilled that we've got signal here. I also, while you have been with everybody else, I found the Ridge Pride and one of the 4-kilometer boys, but unfortunately right up against the ridge where we had absolutely no signal. So Malika herself is across and off to the left of us. There she is over there. Apparently she's been unsuccessfully hunting wildebeest this morning with her 2 boys. First time I ever saw Malika, for a female cheetah, I was very impressed by her because she was hunting fully grown zebra. She didn't catch it, but it was an extraordinary introduction to a cat that we've got to know exceptionally well. And hopefully, you never know, on my way back towards camp I might even find Imani a little bit later today. Imani, I feel as though I've fallen into a trap that many a person has in the past. I fell too hard and too fast and got too clingy with her after our first meeting, and she's denied me access to her ever since. Every time I try and find her again, she's vanished. But Malika is equally wonderful. What you up to, girl? Where are you going? She seems to be looking across in the distance at a group of, or a herd of wildebeest. I wonder if she's planning on trying with them. She's obviously been unsuccessful for most of her morning. She does look empty-bellied. She does look hungry. There's a herd of wildebeest up on the crest. Is that what she's heading to? It looks like she might be. She's got a long distance to travel, though, and a couple of big dips along the way. Oh, one of the boys picked up on the signs from Mum and moving forward with her. She is right on the boundary of the National Reserve, where we have Traverse and one of the conservancies. Now, hopefully she doesn't keep going too far east. Otherwise we will be in big trouble because she'll be gone. Don't cross our boundary. It's not often that we say that to you here in the Mara, but it does happen every now and again. That's what she's aiming for, I think. I think she's going for those wildebeest. But slowly. Slowly at a very measured pace. And I don't want to get too far down into this lugger or into this dip, because I suspect our signal's going to take a bit of a dive there. But let's try it. Let's give it a go. And then the team in FC will just shout if they think it's getting too shaky. And I will stop. We're going to follow Malika and her two boys on their morning business. Let's send you back across to Noelle, who's left the hyena den and has found herself some very tiny, sharp teeth animals.
Yes, hello. We have found the new growth on the termite mounds. We were chatting about it earlier. So those dark spots that you can see, that is the new growth that the termites have brought out, grain by grain by grain of soil, to clean out the tunnels inside, and then that's how the mound moves on. As Vildy zooms in, you can actually see the termites. You see them moving inside of the crevices there and around to bring that soil out. Oh, fantastic. That's what we were hoping for. This is absolutely wonderful. Now, I'm going to ask Vildy just to stay there. I'm going to go up because we're parked a little bit farther away. I can't actually get any closer. I'm going to go up close and then point so that you guys can see what I am discussing with you. Is my audio still good? Okay. If we lose audio, Vildy will let me know. Okay. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. So this whole thing that I'm walking to and I'm standing on, this is all the termite mound, and it's going down and around. It's going to carry on down towards the bottom where the water table is. But here, I think these is probably the best ones you can see. They look like little soldiers to me, to be honest with you. There's a few different sizes here, and it's unfortunate. We wanted so badly to do a bushwalk this morning, but it was raining too much. But they're just around in here, just where I'm pointing with my finger here. And then if we come down, you can just see their little red heads poking up here and then poking out there. Now this termite mound is very, very, very hard, like concrete, and soon that dark soil will also become very hard. And there, as long as this cloud cover stays, they're gonna keep building away at their termite mound. So if we think about it, and you could see the size of the mound when I was standing there, if we think about it, grain by grain by grain, they're building about a soccer ball every single year. That's how much it grows. So for a termite mound to reach that size, I mean, that is generations upon generations of termites working tirelessly day in and day out to make that amazing structure. It blows my mind. Thinking about it, it absolutely blows my mind. So I would say that that mound is a couple hundred years old. That would be my guess. All right, so before we got to the hyena den, we had lion tracks, and those lion tracks unfortunately went over north into Biffleshoek. Can't follow them anymore, but we're gonna carry on and check up a little bit ways. It has stopped raining, but it is still nice and cool, so you never know, we might still get our last minute leopard. I'm really chuffed that those termites popped out so you could see them. I hope you could see them okay. And we'll see what else we can find before I hand you over. Ooh, Jamie is with Cheetah. Let's go back to her and get some cat tackle. I look for our last bird.
We are indeed, and they are going across what I thought was a full river, but in fact is not in any way a full river. Oh, okay, so Malika's already made her way across. Craig, can you see that youngster yet, or am I still not quite there? I don't want to go over the edge. We're right on the tip. Okay, well, they're going to move and follow their mum. So there goes Malika. She's on her way towards those wildebeest that we saw earlier. And if our signal's okay here, that's very, very good news, because it means we'll be able to follow her all the way up in her hunting mission. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Her boys are a little bit reluctant to go and follow her. They unfortunately, for now, are hidden behind a thorn bush. Scarlet, not to our camp up on the top of the mountain. So Scarlet's question is, do the cheetah ever come close to our camp? Not... They will definitely on Djuma, every now and again, rarely, but it does happen. Look, she's trying to... Where are they? Did I manage to leave them behind? Can I hunt unaided for once? Boys clambering down the rocks after Mum. But in the Mara, no. The cheetah never come past our camp, and that's just because we're right on top of the escarpment. So while never say never, it's very, very unlikely. Whereas with certain camps down here, Salas, definitely they would come past. Or Lashaiki, absolutely they would come past. Come on, boys. Mom's getting very far ahead. Let's see if they hiss at the water. It's one of those things that lions and cheetah do. We're going to get a spring. Ah, and the hiss. Did you see the hiss there? Bared teeth. Partly out of irritation, and partly in order to, or from a natural instinctive fear of open bodies of water. Crocodiles. So they hiss at water. It's hilarious. Very entertaining things that cheetah do. Holden, without a doubt, the most dangerous enemy. I suppose it's difficult to term them enemies, but the biggest threat to a cheetah, regardless of their age, is a lion. So lions will actively, if they see a cheetah, follow it, try and catch it, and try and kill it. Here comes male number 2. He's going to make his way across. Oops! Ow! Oh, that looked sore. That was a silly jump, mister. That wasn't very elegant at all. So, absolutely lions. They will and are responsible for the most cheetah deaths in the Mara. Then, of course, hyenas and leopards to male cubs, to cheetah cubs. Baboons are a big threat to cheetah cubs in their den site when they're still small. Buffalo will kill cheetah cubs if they find them. So they've got a number of different animals that are a major, major threat to them. Leopards occasionally kill and even hoist cheetahs. And it's all based on competition. So essentially it's one predator removing a source of competition in terms of competing for resources. Where are we off to now, Malika? That was amazing, that little river crossing. But that really did... Have you ever done that? I'm sure most of you have, when you've jumped onto a rock and you've slipped. Oh, it's always so sore. I feel sorry for him. I can't have been comfortable. Let's go across the river now. Ourselves. Shall we hiss at it as we go through? Enter the mind of the cheetah. Even an eagle, if it spots a cheetah cub, is a threat to a cheetah cub. So cheetah cubs have one of the highest mortality rates out here, which is why Kekenya, you haven't met yet unless you've been to the Mara, because she's outside of our signal range. But Kekenya is extraordinary. She's raised 4 cubs before to adulthood from one litter, which is exceptional. Whereas poor old Musiara, the female cheetah, I don't think she's raised one set. And Malika has only raised 3 cubs to independence in her 10 years. Not including these 2. How are we doing there, Kirst? Are we still okay? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm thrilled to hear it. I can sort of see the escarpment, but I'm still very, very impressed with the power of our signal. There's some bullies. There's a Tommy. I don't know if the Tommies realise the cheetah are there. Let me just have a look. No, Tommy's definitely knows the cheetah are there. And now the Tommy's going to do what Tommies do best, which is run towards it. It's going to pop out here. Ah, it's hidden behind the car. Sorry about that. Right, Mark. In terms of an animal face-off, what would win in a fight, a leopard or a cheetah? A leopard. A leopard is just, even if it's the same weight as the cheetah, a leopard is just that much stronger, that much bulkier, and that much more geared towards strength rather than speed. So although a leopard's very, very fast, it is nothing on the cheetah. So, essentially, unless you have a situation where you've got a female leopard and the 5 males, the 5 cheetah boys that Brent has been with, almost invariably, the leopard will win. But bear in mind that those sorts of battles are not something that you see really realistically in the wild all that frequently unless you're watching YouTube. Otherwise, that sort of thing is very, very uncommon, and it's because neither animal wants to injure themselves, because both of them are reliant less on each other and more on their own abilities. So they're solitary creatures, essentially. Not talking so much about the males. Oh, there's a jackal behind her. So an injury means almost certain death. There's a black-backed jackal. A little Tommy's snorting. Here come the 2 boys straggling, as teenage boys do. No offense to any teenage boys watching, but you know what I mean. Now it could be that the young male might go for the cheetah, for the jackal. Mom's not going to. She's got far more common sense than that. But the young males might just do that. Unfortunately, if they do, they're going to go straight into some really dense vegetation. But we've seen them chase jackal before. They're still young, they're still learning. Here comes the second male, also looking at the jackal. What are you doing, boys? Are you going to go and cause trouble? Hoodlums. That's what you are. Hoodlums. Hungry hoodlums. And jackal watching very closely. Yes, Sassy, as we spoke about earlier, yes, and even an eagle is a potential threat to a cheetah cub. So we've spoken about all of the risks that these boys have faced and survived to reach the age that they have, and an eagle is absolutely one of them. There are lots of crowned eagles in this area, especially around the escarpment where we live, as well as martial eagles. So those are the 2 eagle species that would be most likely to attack and kill a cheetah cub. But tawny eagles, there are, of course, also imperial eagles in this area, although I haven't seen one yet. Those bigger eagle species are all potential threats to cheetah cubs. I've told the story many times, but my terror when I brought my puppy to the bush of constantly, I wasn't worried about anything else except an eagle coming in and taking her. I was so worried about that in the beginning stages. Okay, I sort of want to scoot ahead of them. I'm just trying to work out their line. I think she's actually lying down now. Yeah, she's lying down. Morning! Hi guys. Do you mind if I go? Thank you. Always polite to check. Okay. Well, after the build-up of the morning's anticipation, we are left with Brent and myself, both with cheetahs, both with sleepy cheetahs. Let's go and see what Brent's cheetahs are up to and if they have any plans of moving.
Well, there's a little herd of zebra that are moving closer to them, but they are still very, very flat, and there's no particularly small young zebra that might really get their interest. But with these 5 boys, you never know. I've seen them take a zebra about the size of the middle zebra before, and that's the joy of having 5 members in a coalition, that it does give you a little bit more wiggle room in terms of the size of prey you can attack. As I said, unfortunately though, they haven't even lifted their heads as these zebra have walked pretty much across the front of them. Now, the hyena walked off a little bit, and I can't see if he's just sort of popped down somewhere close by where we can't see, and the cheetah are still just going to wait it out and wait for that hyena to move off. It's still quite cool. The cloud is breaking up a little bit, but at the moment it's still very much cool enough for them to want to hunt. And you see there's quite a few different cars watching them at the moment. But there they are. They are still very, very flat cats. But they can go from flat to very awake in absolutely no time. Now remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us. At the moment, we've got cheetah rugs out on the grasslands. Now, Mystic's wondering what kind of laws are there in terms of import of foreign animals. Would they be done, for example, for conservation? Mystic, it all depends on the species and the scenario. The laws are very, very strict on movement of wild animals to and or out of their natural habitat into a non-natural habitat, and even more so with endangered species like cheetah. So. And with cheetah, in the case, there's actually very little point in moving them unless you're reintroducing them into an area. But to try breed them in captivity is almost a waste of time, as cheetah do not breed well in captivity. They breed very well in the wild, even though they lose a lot of their youngsters to other predators. But their breeding in the wild is prolific almost, with sometimes even 8 cubs being born to a single female. However, it is very difficult to get them to breed in captivity. So the only time really you want to be moving or exporting or importing cheetah would be to re-establish another population that has been wiped out. And for example, in certain cases in Botswana and Namibia, sometimes cheetah will be moved from there to South Africa into areas where cheetah were but have become extinct. And it all just depends, but generally it's not a good idea, even from a conservation point of view. There's a reason the animals live where they live, and that's because it's the best habitat for them. Now, of course, while we're sitting out here with the cheetah, there's always other stuff to look at. So we've got a little birdie on the ground over here, Manu. And you see it scuttling about there. Ooh. Hello, birders. You've got your caps on. Not one of our normal ones. I actually think I do know which one it is, but I'm going to double check because I'm not even 100% sure. So let's try to figure out what this bird is together. I think I know what it is, but again, sometimes my larks and pipits are a little bit rusty, but I'm pretty sure it's a lark. Just judging by the way it is moving. Hey, look at it. So the most common lark in the Mare is the rufous-naped lark. That, however, is definitely not a rufous-naped lark. Let me just move back a little bit so we can keep checking on it. So I'm also not 100% sure. I've got an idea what I thought it was, but I just want to double check. Where did he go? Did he fly off? Which way? Has he landed again? Let's have a look. I can't see where he's gone. Okay, well, I'm going to keep checking. As I said, I'm not 100% sure which one it was. I thought it might be a fawn-coloured or red-capped lark. Okay, while we keep looking for our lark and keeping an eye on the 5 boys, let's head back across to Jamie with her cheetah on the other side of the Talek River.
The other side of the Talek River, and in fact very, very close to the boundary with Olare-Lorok Conservancy. So that is most unfortunate. It's not often that we get ourselves into a situation where the animals are about to cross, but there is a very, very good chance that these cheetah are going to. Come on, Leica, don't do it. Stay here with me, please. Well, that's good. That's a good sign. It seems like that's where she's going to be content to stay. So what we will do is we'll spend the rest of the morning with her, and then probably depart around lunchtime, depending on what she gets up to, if she doesn't cross. Otherwise, we will stick around and we'll see what she gets up to, which means that you can watch out for action broadcasts if she does manage to find herself some lunch. At that point, it will be lunch. Okay, let's go a bit closer. I was expecting them to come all the way up here, so I moved all the way up here, but she hasn't. So we'll go back down to her. Don't ask me, Becca. I'm still not entirely sure I can. So Becca's wondering how you can tell where the boundaries are. I have been checking on the map, to be honest. Google Maps, in order to figure out exactly where the boundary is. I don't really want to risk traipsing across the boundary accidentally. Some of the boundaries are pretty clear because they're main roads. So the boundary... Which way are we going, Cheetah? Now you're going back to where we came from. So the boundary of the Mara National Reserve, as we drive along Mosiara, from Mosiara Gate, is a main road. Sometimes it's a river, sometimes it is just a random line. So it's a tricky thing to actually figure out at times. After all that, she is going to go back up the hill to where I was. That's very inconsiderate of you. Hey, pretty girl. She's in such good condition for a 10-year-old female. She really does look so lovely. Stopping, standing, listening, giving us a marvelous opportunity for those of you who want screenshots of your own in order to be able to identify her. Any profile shot like that is the perfect way of doing it. And you'll be able to sit and look and compare spots next time you see her. Because at some point, the two boys are not going to be with her anymore. And that's going to make life a little bit more tricky when it comes to identifying her. Because essentially, whenever we see a cheetah, a female cheetah in this area with two young males, we know it's Malika. But one day, those two boys are going to leave her side and become independent. She's got a very nice line of spots on her belly. That would be very, very easy. See that? I can see it clearly, but I've spent a lot of time looking at cheetah spots. But to me, there's some very, very distinctive places that you could look in terms of being able to identify Malika in the future. The cheetah waggle. We're going to stick with Malika right up until she gets to the boundary. Let's send you across to Brent because some zebra have approached his cheetah.
Well, the zebras haven't seen the cheetahs and the cheetahs haven't seen the zebras. Oh, I think the front zebra has suddenly spotted the cheetah. They were about to sort of almost walk on top of them. Now, this herd does have a few younger ones in it. So it's a different herd of cheetahs. I mean, different herd of zebras. Sorry, guys. Cheetah on the brain. Yvette wants to know, don't they have to be really hungry to go after a zebra? Yvette, not necessarily. I've actually seen them take down zebra on a few occasions. Generally sub-adults. Oh, there we go. I see like that one. But there are some much smaller ones towards the back. But there we go. And the zebras have definitely spotted them now. And are changing their direction by the looks of things. I can just make out the snorting being brought down towards us on the wind. And the cheetahs' heads are up now, all of a sudden, or some of them, now that they're being snorted at. Not really, though. Still very much chillaxing. You might be picking up that. The zebras are starting to snort a little bit more fiercely. Romit is wondering, would protecting cheetah 24/7 help raise their numbers? Well, it depends. What are you protecting the cheetah from, Romit? So the biggest killer of cheetahs at the moment inside protected areas is, of course, lions. So do we now start interfering in nature? And when lions start trying to kill cheetah, or a leopard starts trying to kill cheetah, do we intervene? I say no. I don't think it's right. I think we should let nature take its course. A cheetah population is slowly rising at the moment throughout Africa, and they actually do quite well in unprotected areas because they are not bigger livestock killers at all. Mostly cows and that are too big, and they'll tend to avoid livestock if they can. So but in those areas, often the lion and hyena populations have been decimated. So the cheetahs are able to sort of survive quite well in those areas because of the lack of lions and hyenas. So it's a difficult question, but I don't think having people watching cheetahs 24/7 would anyway help or increase their chances of their numbers increasing exponentially. Now, there we go, one's up. So the thing that is helping with cheetah and their numbers growing at the moment is the incredible number of game parks that have sprung up specifically in southern Africa. So cheetah are often being reintroduced into areas where they have been extinct for quite some time. So that's one of the exciting things. So especially in southern Africa, and to a lesser degree in other parts of Africa. But in southern Africa in particular, the cheetah population is becoming far more widespread through multiple reserves, whereas traditionally it was only in the larger national parks where you would get cheetah. Now, however, in some of the smaller, or they're still quite big, private reserves, there's a healthy population of cheetah developing. Now it looks like the boys are up. They're tired of being snorted at by the zebra. It is also getting quite warm, and I'm wondering, are they going to just go find a piece of shade to snooze in? You can see their bellies are empty. Well, if they do decide to snooze for the day, it means we're in for an exciting afternoon with the 5 boys, because they will almost certainly be on the hunt. And the temperature's suddenly like someone just turned up the heat. And I don't think that's what's got the boys moving. I definitely think it's the fact that the zebras have been snorting at them, giving away their presence. They don't really like that. I'm just having a quick look around. I can't see that hyena anymore. I think that the cheetah won the patience game with the hyena, and the hyena has moved off. Okay, well, they're going to head down in towards a little lugger. I'm going to shoot across to the other side. While we do that, let's go see what Jamie's cheetahs are up to.
They're resting, and in my opinion, or at least a little bit earlier, they looked like a pair of bookends, the way that they were sitting, bottom to bottom. Both of them were looking in opposite directions, and that's really what they looked like to me. So for now, they're resting up in the shade of a bush, but they are watching a herd of wildebeest, and I think that's what Malika's aiming for. It's getting harder and harder for her to hunt wildebeest, I would imagine, because she surely, never say never, but she surely cannot be equal to taking on an adult wildebeest. So she's got to look for either an injured one or a youngster. And the youngsters are essentially nearly as large as the adults now. They're 10 months old. They are pretty much not indistinguishable. You can still see the young ones. But I'm impressed at her determination to try and catch a wildebeest. There's a youngster. It's actually staring at us right from the middle of that shot. The straight horns. Morning. And the cheetah are up once again. The sun is up as well, so I'm just going to cool myself down a little bit. Probably don't need a big thicker jacket. Oh goodness, Mobile Paddy's asked, why do I think that evolution supported big cats rather than big dogs? Well, I suppose in a way evolution did sort of support big dogs in wolves. But that's a very good question. Perhaps to do with climates, the social structure. But honestly, I'm not sure, Mobile Paddy. I need a little bit of warning for a question like that. I need to think about it a little bit. Sure. Why did it favor big cats and not big dogs? It's a really very, very good question, though. It's a question that I think will probably have a very, very complex answer. And I mean, evolution is such a almost not quite, but a lot of random circumstances that interact. So it's not just to do with what's favorable at the time. There's so many different circumstances. I mean, I'm inclined to say it's got something to do with social structure, but of course we've got the lions who hunt in the way that they do as social big cats. And they're big. It's a good question. I'd have to think about it for a little bit longer. Okay, guys, they are heading towards these wildebeest now. I'm going to try and get us into a good position. Let's get ourselves onto the top of a ridge. And depending on where they go from here, Kirst, it might be worth A, prepping an action broadcast, and B, possibly extending the morning safari, depending on how the circumstances play out. One thing I do want to avoid doing, particularly with Malaika and her boys, is putting myself in a position where she feels it's acceptable to come and jump on my car. She's known for doing that, and it's something I strongly disagree with allowing the animals to do, for a lot of reasons. And one, most importantly, it's dangerous to the animal. Looks cool. Oh yeah, it looks great, and chances are the cheetahs are going to be absolutely fine, and they're not going to, the guests in the vehicle will all behave properly, and you won't have any problems. But it's really reckless behavior. And diseases as well. It puts the cheetah under tremendous threat. If that cheetah then attacks a child that gets a fright and screams, as is the natural instinct with big cats, then it's the end of the cheetah. So I strongly disagree with allowing big cats to jump onto cars. She's going behind that termite mound. Okay, she's changed her direction slightly from where I thought she was going to be. I just want to keep watching her body language, because she might decide to now lie down and wait for the next 2 hours. So I just want to check exactly what she gets up to. Which way is she going to go? There's wildebeest over here, some Tommies. What is she doing over there? Smelling something. Settled under the termite, well, under the bushes. No, I think, Kirst, they're going to stay in the shade here for a little while longer. I think they're going to survey this area, and I'm not quite sure I could give a time frame to it. But we will be back in terms of action broadcasts. So just because I don't think we need to extend the drive now, we absolutely will be back when there is an action broadcast to be had. Just watching her carefully. No, they're resting under the shade of the bushes. So I think that for now that's going to be their plan. So as the vultures soar over the Mara plains and the wildebeest graze and the cheetah hunt, it is a time for us to do our farewells and our thank yous and all of that jazz. So a big thank you to Craig for his wonderful camera work as always, as well as to Faith in the Mara FC and Kirsty in the Djuma FC, the rest of the team, and most importantly, as you always know, the biggest thank you goes to you for your questions, comments, and your company. Don't forget to stay tuned for potential action broadcasts, or else we'll see you this afternoon.